Okay, we're in the middle of the sugya. A guten winter. That's it. A guten winter. No, what do you say? It's not nothing.
Guten
Quittel,
Winter.
a guten Quittel. Matze Jantiv, you say a gesunden Winter.
Okay, a guten quintal. Quintal. It's a combination. It's a guten quintal. Okay, whatever. Um, Kenny's not on the screen, so I don't know what to say. Anyway, so they have we give the share in the middle of a sugya of pigel. Now we know that pigel chutz l'zmano is a chi of karis, chutz l'makom is not a chi of karis. Now the chi of karis, it doesn't say it by pigel, it says it by nicer. It says it by nicer. So here's just to reiterate what we did yesterday. Okay, just to reiterate what we did yesterday, and let's see what we got. Okay, this pasuk, we had two psukim. One in Parshas Slav, that's called the psuk Aricha, and one in Parshas Kedoshim. The one in Parshas Kedoshim is the one that tells us is the one in Parshas Kedoshim is the one that tells us that what that va'oichlov, who eats it, you're going to get karis. So now this is nice. So you're going to get karis, and oichlov is singular. So here's the question. If this pasuk in Parshas Kedoshim, in Parshas Tzav, is speaking about chutz l'zmanoi, right? It's speaking of chutz l'zmanoi. I have a gezerah shava avoin from Pigel. It says avoin by excuse me nicer. It says oven by nicer. It says oven by chutz l'zmanoi. And just like this is a chi of kares v'nichvas nefesh meha, so too is the chi of chutz l'zman a chi of kares. That's what we'd like to do. Memela, this pasuk, it must be speaking about chutz l'makom. V'me'ochel yachol b'yom hashlishi pigel hu lo yiratza. V'oichlov, but it's a lashon of zachar, I mean lashon of yachid. And memela, I can't go ahead and include chutz l'makom. I can't go ahead and include chutz l'makom. Okay. The Gemara asks the following: maybe this pasuk is speaking about chutz l'makom, and this pasuk is speaking about chutz l'zmanoi. Okay, why would this pasuk be speaking about? The Gemara says, well, it makes more sense that this pasuk be speaking about chutz l'zmanoi because you have zman bama. You have what zman bama, which is similar to what the noiser. Says Adarabba. This pasuk must be speaking about chutz l'zmanoi because it's right next to noiser, right? It's right next to it over here. Now, if this pasuk is speaking about chutz l'zmanoi, this pasuk is speaking about chutz l'makom. If this is chutz l'makom, then you have the oven of karis going on chutz l'makom. So therefore, for that reason, we're rejecting it. And the Gemara now, fellas, is going to learn it out totally from the pasuk in Parshas Tzav. In other words, this pasuk that's in front of us, I'm going to leave it up on the screen. This pasuk is the pasuk we're going to learn out chutz l'makom, chutz l'zman, and we're going to have oven to teach me it's going in chutz l'zman. So everything is from the pasuk in Tzav, not to do in the pasuk word of Kedoshim. That's what we're going to say. Okay, so we're up to Chav Ches Amid Beis. Chav Ches Amid Beis, I'd say about 12 lines up. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, make it 11. Elo Amar Rava, says Rava, Kula Mikra Aricha Asyan. We're all going to learn it after the long pasuk, the pasuk and pasuk. The pasuk and pasuk tzav, like this pasuk. We're all going to learn everything out from that pasuk. Now, we're going to learn. We're going to dissect the pasuk and go through many halachas, fellas. But keep what's our eye on the ball. That this pasuk must be speaking about chutz l'makom and chutz l'zman, and oven is going to be going chutz l'zman. Got it? Good. So let's begin. It says, when it says the double lashon, it's speaking about two achilas. Echad achilas adam, echad achilas mizbeach. As we spoke out yesterday, right? We have the achilas adam with the basar, and the achilas mizbeach, you have the dam and the imurim, and the shirayim. Mibisar zevach shlamav, continuing from the word zevach shlamav, mashlomim, guys, mishlomim, mifaglim, they have something that's a matir, umispaglin, and something that becomes pigel, pirish. A shlomim, how does pigel become about? You have the dam, That's the mifaglin. And when you go ahead and say chutz zman or chutz makom, then the meat is mispaglin. The meat becomes pigel. What happens if I have a korban that doesn't have a matir, guys? What happens if a chat that doesn't have a matir? So look at me. If you have a korban mincha, so we know the koimitz is similar to the dam of Kabbalah. So the koimitz is the mata for the shirayim, so it's shaykh pigel by a regular korban mincha. What happens if it's the korban of a kohen? We know the korban of the mincha of a kohen is totally burnt. We know the minchas nesachim is totally burnt. So it's not shaykh machshava of pigel by minchas nesachim or minchas kohen because there is no matir. You don't have. It's only one motion. It's only one thing. By mishlamim, you need two things. You need the matir, the dam, and the thing that becomes pigel. So therefore, from those words, the words of zevach shlamim, we learn out what just like a shlamim mifaglin, it has a mafagel which is the dam, umispaglin, the sof, it's going on an object on the basa. I've called mifaglin mispaglin, and I'm telling you from Rashi that yoitza minchas kohen or minchas nesachim, which does not have what a matir because the whole thing's burnt. The pasuk now continues, guys. B'yoim hashlishi, right? Zeh chutz lizmanoi. Okay, there you got it, guys. This is the first thing. B'yom hashlishi, that's chutz lizmanoi, and that's very crucial. Lo yeratze, continuing the pasuk. Ratze means zerika, guys. It's not ratze. It's not accepted. That's what ki artzois kosher, kach artzois pasel. Just like a regular korban, it's not complete until you do the what? Until you do the zrika, so too, right? The korban of pigel is only complete when you do the zrika, and only that. Continues Gemara. Ma'at sois kosher at sheyakrivu kol matirov, afar sois pasel at sheyakrivu kol matirov. You have to go ahead and mat the kol tirov. You know, it has to be that you finish it off. You finish it off with that's the only game in town, as we're going to see. As you know, in other words, yeah, you can't have a machshava pigel in the shchita. It has to be in the zrika. Everything you can think about in one of the avodas, you have to think what in the zrika. In the either the shchita, the halacha, the kabbalah, you have to think about in the zrika, right? So the we learn from these words that you have to kol matirov. You have to take care of the whole thing. It can't become pigel unless you take care of the whole thing. The pasuk continues, guys, and this is important for the end of the shir. Hamakriv v'isoi, right? Hamakriv v'isoi, ba'akravu nifsal v'enu nifsal b'shlishi. Guys, I can touch the pasuk like this. And if the guy eats the korban on the third day, then it's not a good korban. Guys, look at the pasuk. Look at the pasuk in front of you. If the guy eats the korban, it's not a good korban. But no, hamakrav, you know when it becomes bad? At the time of hakrava, not achila, not when you eat it 3 days later. It's when you have machshava b'shas hakrava for 3 days. That's the chiddush of the pasuk. You need the Torah Shabbat Peh to explain this pasuk. If you read it literally, it doesn't make any sense, right? You'd say in consonants, totally in achila. So, if what the hamakriv means, don't think that the korban becomes puzzle if you eat it literally after 3 days. It doesn't become pigel then. It becomes pigel b'shas hamakriv, the time you bring it, when you do the din in the blood. Hamakriv bakravu nifsal, ve'ein nifsal b'shlishi. Let's see Rashi, guys. Ve'ein nifsal bakravu nifsal, hashti yalif, the machshava hakosev medaber, that it's speaking about machshava, shemechashe b'shas yiratze hamakriv, like teizri kosle meratze, and manas kein akrivu, that if you think at that time b'shas the zrika that it shouldn't be, so therefore what?
You skipped a line. You skipped a line in Rashi.
Absolutely not. You're actually right. The machshava hakosev medaber shemachshav b'shas. Excuse me. Thank you, Nassim. That you think you're going to eat it right on the third day. That you think you're going to eat it on the third day. Ve'enu nifsal b'shlishi. In bakrava leichishav al manaskein, if b'shas hakrava you didn't go ahead think to do this, it's not going to be possible in Mafreya. The Hachi Midrash, Lo Yiratza, Hamakiv, Lo Yitis Rikosle Miratza in Manaskein Akrivu. The Zrika won't be good if you didn't Amanaskein. So again, we're dissecting the pasuk, guys, right? The Machi Yachal tu Achilas. We're B'shtei Achilas Kos Medaber. Achilas Mizbeach, Achilas Asam. Besides Zevach Shlamav, right? We said besides the Shlamav that you need a matir and fagul miskalim, dam and basa. You need a matir koimitz and you need the matirim. B'yom hashlishi, we said what? That's chutz l'zmanoi. That's what we needed. Lo yeratzeh. Right? You have to do it the right way. You know, it's b'shas zrika, like just the way a kosher zrika finishes the carbon. You need a kosher zrika to finish off the pigel. Hamakra v'isai, right? Hamakra v'isai. B'shas the hakrava is the pigel, not b'shas achila. 3 days later, geshmak so far, geshmak. Continues the pasuk. Oisai, guys, hamakra oisai b'zevach hakasav medaber, ve'inu medaber b'koyin. Rashi, oisai b'zevach hu medaber, ve'inu medaber b'zoyveach. Rashi has a different gersa. It's not speaking about the one who brings the carbon. Kloimar. Ushalei Taima, you shouldn't say the high makriv lav lahachi hu da'asa. It doesn't come to speak about the carbon. Elolim lechem means to tell you sheha kayin makrivai, the kayin that it does it, who has machshav of pigel, lo yichashivoid. Guys, look at the pasuk. Hamakrivai say, I can touch it. The kayin who brings it, lo yichashiv. Isn't this kain carbon? He's not a kayin anymore. Lo yichashiv. He's not a kayin anymore, right? Because continues Rashi. Lo yichashevai b'kahuna. He's not considered anymore b'kahuna. V'yifsal melekayin. L'kach nemar oisai. What does oisai mean? Hazevach b'lo yichashev. Ve'ina kayi b'lo yichashev. So now, guys, hamakriv b'shas hakrava. Guys, look at the pasuk. Oisai, the carbon itself, lo yichashev, but not the kayin. Not the kayin. So this is continuing the drasha. Lo yichashev, lo yarav boy machshavas acheros. In order to be pigel, it has to be the only game in town was you didn't have another. We're going to see the Mishnah on the Amid Beis. If you would have machshav of chutz l'makom in one avoida and chutz l'zman in another avoida, it's not pigel. It's possible, but it's not pigel. Why? Because you can't be ma'ariv le'yichashev. You can't be ma'ariv machshavos le'yichashev. You can't be machshava. Pigel. It says pigel. It's a chutz l'mkaimai. So there you got it, guys. You got both, guys. B'yom hashlishi chutz l'zmanoi. Pigel, chutz l'mkaimai. Yiyeh, what does yiyeh mean? Melamed, shemitztarfim zeh mzeh, that you can be mitztarif the machshava of chutz l'makom and chutz l'zman. Rashi says, Asan akos of the chutz l'mkaimai chutz l'zmani havaya achas, melamed shemitztarfim chatzoi shi'urehem lifsol es ha-carbon. In other words, it won't make pigel, but it'll passel the carbon. Kidnam masnisan lechol kichatzi zayis b'chutz. Guys, if you'd have a machshava to eat half chutz l'makom and half chutz l'zmanoi, it would pass all the carbon. So that's what yiyeh havaya, that it won't be karis, but it'll pass all the carbon. One havaya. Okay? V'nefesh acheles mimenu, guys. V'nefesh acheles mimenu. What does mimenu mean? From it, echad v'lo shnayim. Only one of them, avonei tisa. Only one of these, guys, look at the pasuk. Please look at the pasuk. Either b'yom hashlishi or pigel will be the one that what will be karis. Avoinai tisa, because we're going to make the gzever shavah to what? To nicer. But only one of them. I got both in the pasuk. I got b'yom hashlishi is chutz l'zman. I got pigel is chutz l'makom. Mimenu, anyone who eats mimenu from one of these, avoinai tisa is going to get karis. Right? Okay. The share should be Chus Refuah Shalema for Esther Bas Meima. My mother just had, she's bleeding on the brain. Okay, so where is I holding? Yeah, so now we have l'chayra source, right? L'chayra, I'm recording. Okay, we have a source, right? We have a pasuk, the long pasuk. One says one says la yiratze, excuse me, b'yam shlishi, which is chutz l'zman, pigel is chutz l'makom, v'achol mimenu, only one of them. Avon etisa should get karis, and which one is it going to be? It's going to be the one that it says that in common zaman, that they're both zman and bama. That does mashenkim chutz l'makom is not zman, and there's no such thing as a bama like chutz l'makom. Okay, so that's what he says over here. Veza says what?
The first one where it says echad v'lo shnayim, that isn't that the,
Only one of them will get avoinoi tisa, but not both. Look at the pasuk.
it's not the same as lo ye'orev. That's not the same limud as lo ye'orev.
Okay, so no. The anefesh acheles mimenu. In other words, I have two things over here. I have chutz zman and I have chutz l'makom, right? V'nefesh acheles mimenu avoin etisa, right? So the nefesh that eats mimenu avoin etisa. Only one of them, and not two of them. Yes. Where's your problem, Rabbi?
Because before we had a limud that taught us not that you can't mix up the machshava.
That's machshava. That's machshavos. That's the machshava of creating the pigel. This is once it's pigel already. What I can have pigel two ways. I can have chutz l'makom, chutz l'zman, but only one of them will have avoin tisa, will have kares. Good. Okay. So now why chutz l'zman? The gama oven mi noiser. The domi le bizab, because it's similar to bizab, which means zman and zman and bama. It's similar, means zman and bama. Amalera papa l'rava lididach. According to you, shlishi the parshas kedoshim to you might the rashta be. The shlishi in parshas kedoshim, what do you do with? In other words, if you learn everything out of parshas tzav, what do you do with the shlishi in parshas kedoshim? It has shlishi, guys. The place where pigel takes place, it has to be mishulish. Bedam, bebasa, ubeimurim. What does that mean? If you would shech almanas to eat it was do in the heichel, since there's no in the heichel, there's no achilas basar in the heichel, right? Therefore, it would not be puzzle. You need the place to be one of three things that you can have dam, you could have achilas basar, and burning a murim, right? So, but that doesn't exist in the heichel. For the Gemara, typically mikra kama, you could learn it from the first pasuk. You could learn what from the first pasuk. When the first pasuk said lashon shlishi lechutz l'zmanoi, and it says chutz l'mekaymai, they both say in that pasuk chutz. In other words, it says both by yom shlishi and chutz l'makom in the yom shlishi. So let's learn out that it has to be a makom shulish. It says Gemara machol yachol midafkir rachman b'lashon shlishi. Ravashi Amrias Shmaitz Kameder of Masna Amalei Ime Hasam. If from the first pasuk in Parshas Tzav and not Parshas Kedoshim, have I mean a shlishi prat. I would say shlishi is a prat and pigel is a klal. Now we're used to guys a klalu prat. You have a klal and then you have the prat. You have the klal and then you have the prat. Ein bechlal malshe prat. What about when the prat is first? So when the prat is first, the klal comes to it on. So therefore, I would have said the following. I would have said that Yom HaShlishi is the prat, the third day. Pigel is a klal. Nasa klal moisav ala prat. The klal will now come ahead and add on to the prat. This Rabbi Sham Mekaimis. And I would go ahead and say pigel could take place in other places, not only b'makom mishulish, but other places as well, like the Heichel. Kimash Malon from the second pasuk, no makom mishulish. Tarabanan. V'ma'achol yachol b'sai zevach shlamav. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Koif Aznecha, listen up, Lishmaya. Now again, this is going to focus on, fellas, is it speaking about Achila on the third day, or it's speaking about Machshava? It's speaking about Achila on the third day, or it's speaking about Machshava? Koif Aznecha Lishmaya, B'machashev lechem mizivchoi b'yom hashlishi yakosim medaber. It's speaking where what? A person was machashev to eat from the Zevach on the third day. Maybe, in other words, pigel is that I'm going to eat it on the third day, and then retroactively it won't be good. Excuse me, what did I say? No, excuse me, the wrong thing. Guys, You thought about it, which is really the truth, right? You thought about eating it on the third day. That's chutz l'zman. Again, I could touch the pasuk really easily, guys. You can look at the pasuk and touch the pasuk. Right. If you eat it on the third day, then it's not a good carbon. How do you know you don't touch like that? How do you know it means that now? We already did that. We did a makriv vayslay, right? We did the makriv lo yiratza. We said we did that already. Lo yiratza, the zrika makriv. We did that already. But the Gemara, it seems it's going to go over a few different scenarios. Now, look, no. Any other chabaychim is ever the shlamim. Amit echad kosher yachsev v'yivsol. Fred Gemara Amit achashu kosher. After it's a kosher carbon, yachsev v'yivsol. You did your shchita. You did the kabbalah. You did the ilacha. You did your zrika, right? And since you did that, everything is great, right? You did that, everything is great. Now what are you going to tell me? But you ate it on the third day, retroactively, it's not a good carbon? In other words, how can you entertain that svara? Even without the pasuk, how could you entertain that svara? So again, what's the din of a zav or zava, guys? A little background. A little background. A zav is a person who sees dam. He sees twice, not dam. He sees a certain flow of the body. He sees it twice. Right, he has to count. He has to count 7 days. If he sees it a third time, he has to bring a carbon. A zava is in the 11-day period between neither 7, 11. In the 11-day period, if she sees 3 times, she has to count 7 days. Now, or shemeres yom keneged yom. If she's once, then she has to count a day keneged it. If they go to the mikveh in the morning, they mix this hayom kekulo. You go to the mikveh in the morning, right? So they're a shtikl tful yoim. If they go ahead and deal with tyrus and tumah and everything, and they see later in the day, retroactively, it's going to be tameh. So you see they're tahar until they're tameh. So this is a carbon until it's not. That's the tushtel over here. Says the Gemara. Amir achashu kasha yachsav yifsol. So amaloi Rabbi Akiva hein matzina bizav v'zava. Ushemeres yoim keneged yoim, shehem becheskas tahira. You find out what? They're becheskas tahira, v'kivin shera'u, sasroi, and since once they see it's soise their tahira, afat al tetama, don't be so in wonderment about a carbon, al zeh, sh'afa pisha huchshu, even though the carbon was kosher, even though what? The carbon was kosher, sheyachsa v'yivsol. Amalei, Hari Oimer, Hamakriv. It says Hamakriv, B'shas who nifsal v'enu nifsal b'shlishi. So this is going back, fellas, right, to our pasuk, guys. We dashed in this Hamakriv. We're going back to this pasuk. Hamakriv, I say. So the Makriv, B'shas hakrava, and not B'shas achila. So in other words, this is what we saw earlier, the limud that we saw earlier. This is the limud that we saw earlier. Hamakriv hu nifsal v'enu nifsal b'shlishi. Oyena oimer hamakriv ela zeh koyin hamakriv. Maybe it's the koyin that becomes puzzle, right? Maybe the koyin and not the carbon. Kishu oimer oisoi. Right? This is the limud we had before. B'zevach hu medaber v'enu medaber b'koyin. It's speaking about the carbon, not the koyin. Benazai oimer oisoi. You know what oisoi teaches me, guys? It's a din of Baal Ta'acher. Baal Ta'acher is when you make a neder to bring a carbon, you have 3 regalim to bring it. Okay, what happens after 3? You don't bring it till after 3 regalim. You might think that it's lo yirotze, it's not a good carbon. So it's telling me oisoi dafka pigel is not a good carbon, but if bal ta'acher it would be a good carbon. That's the way Ben Azai darshans it. Ben Azai oima oisoi ma tam loima lifushinema loisa achel shalmoi. It says loisa achel shalmoi yochel af me acha nidroi b'lo yirotze. I might think ba'acha nidroi. That's after the neder. So b'lo yirotze. Tamid loimar oisoi b'lo yirotze dafka pigels b'lo yirotze ve'ina ma'acha nidroi b'lo yirotze. But ma'acha nidroi is not b'lo yirotze. Acherim oimrim. Acherim say lo yichoshev. Right now, Acherim is going to have a different limud. Lo yichoshev b'machshava chum nifsal ve'ina nifsal b'shlishi. He doesn't have from the hamakriv, guys. He has it from Hamachshav. It's the Machshava that passes, but not what? Not the third day. Uben Azai, the Bezevach HaKosim Medaber, Va'enoi B'koyen Minolei. Since Ben Azai, guys, uses Oisoi for the din of Baal Ta'acher. I'm going to go a little fast now, okay? I'm sorry. Since Ben Azai uses the din of Oisoi to tell me that Baal Ta'acher is Yiratzeh, where does he know Oisoi dafka the carbon and not the coin? Right? How does he know that that the carbon's out, not the coin's out? Because that's what we use Oisoi to tell me the carbon, not the coin. But he used Oisoi for something else. He learns it out loud from the Acherim. When the Acherim, Rashi says, right? In other words, it says it's not nifsal b'shlishi. Now, if it's not nifsal b'shlishi, it can't be going on the guy. Guys, the person himself, there's no difference day 1, day 2, day 3. So obviously it's ain't nifsal on Yom Shlishi, must be going on the carbon. So therefore he can learn carbon from that and not from Moisai. Change the gersa. But lo yeratze. It says lo yeratze zvichahu. Right, zvichahu. It's a zevach and not the kohen. Ubenazai oisle b'lo yeratze ve'machem ditzroi b'lo yeratze mehachan nafka mi'acherim nafka. We have another source for him. The Tanya acherim moimrim yachol yehei bechor shiva shnasa. Now bechor is supposed to be within the first year. I might think of bechor that the year passes. I might think it's psuli hamikdashim, and you can't bring it as a carbon. Psuli hamikdashim can't be brought as a carbon. V'yivsol tamid loima v'achat l'fnei Hashem alokecha ma'aseh tigoncha. Now, guys, one that passes over a year is like passed over. In other words, once you tell me that a carbon that, in other words, there's Baal Ta'acher by a Bechor, you could say the same thing. After a year passes and he's still a viable carbon, so you have to bring the Bechor within the year. So L'chaira, Beit Shammai learns it from there, that the Bechor is an acceptable carbon after its year. So what do you mean, Oisaifa the Baal Ta'acher? He learns it from Bechor itself, because Bechor is Baal Ta'acher. That's what he means over here. Makish Bechor l'maisa, ma maisa in a nifsul mishon al-chaverta, af Bechor in a nifsul mishon al-chaverta. So therefore, why does he need Oisai? Itzrich, Salkait Ramina, I would have thought. Hani nil Bechor, the lav barat sahu. I would say, you know why a Bechor can be brought after the year? Because it's not meratza. It's not for a kapara. It's not for, it's just a Bechor. It has kedushas merechem. Abel kochim the meihat soninu. An oil is mechape, guys, for what? Is mechape for mitzvah saseh. And shlamim is for a doroin. So Memela, I would think that maybe after the year, it's after the 3 months, it's no good. I needed therefore a special lima for my side because I couldn't learn it from Bechor. Again, the kasha, loipes azai. I can learn Baal Ta'acher from Bechor. Why do I need Oisai to tell me about not Baal Ta'acher, Pigel and not Baal Ta'acher? Because Bechor is not good enough. Because Bechor is a natural thing. It's not Artzah. I would say there it's good. Mashenkin, where what? It's Artzah, it's Maratza. I would say after three regalim, it's no good. Therefore, Oisai, Tafka Pigel is no good, but what? Baal Ta'acher is good. So I might think, Eimaloi Leratzu Kamash Malon. Furthermore, Vekatami Hasan Nafka. Does he learn it what? Does he still learn it from there? Akate Mehasan Nafka. Does he still learn it from? He still learn it from Oisai. L'chayr, we're going to have another source. L'chayr, we're going to have another source. The Katami Hasan ben Azai from Oisai that he learns out Baal Ta'acher. It says V'hoye b'chachet. It says V'loy b'karbon chachet. What does the pasuk say? Ki si the neder l'Hashem Elokecha. If you make a neder, lois ach l'shalma. You shouldn't be delayed and making it up. Ki darish Rishenu Hashem Elokecha me imach. Hashem's going to darshan it from you. V'hoye b'chachet. And in you what? It'll be a chet. V'hoye b'chet. And you it'll be a chet. So therefore, this is the pasuk word of it. Right. V'hoye b'chachet. Now what is the darshan? If you're over and Baal Ta'acher, in you it's a chet. However, v'loy b'karbon chachet. It won't be in your carbon a chet. In you it'll be a chet, but it won't be in your carbon a chet. So, fact the Gemara, why did Ben Asai need Oisai to teach me that? It says in the pasuk of Baal Ta'acher itself that the carbon is okay. Ben Asai, Hahumi boyle, I need that pasuk v'haya b'chet, v'loy be'ishtecha chet. If you're over in Baal Tacher, you it's a chet, but not in your wife it's a chet. Because Salkadet Ramina, Choyel v'Omer Rabbi Eliezer, Vitem Rabbi Yochanan, or Rabbi Loza maybe. Ein ish t'shalad mesa el came mevakshim imenu mamid ve'in loy. Rashi says if he steals money and they go to claim it, Hashem's going to take away his wife. Taisvis says no. Taisvis says if he doesn't fulfill his neder, you make a neder, you don't fulfill it, you could lose your wife. Shenemar imein l'chol l'shalem lama yikach. If you don't have what to pay, pasuk in Mishlei, lama yikach mishkafcha mitachtecha. If you don't know what to pay, why do you take his bed away from him, underneath him? Bed underneath him is speaking about his wife. B'hai oven the baltach nami mesa, and therefore I would think that you learn his wife. Kamash more than what you need that pasuk to tell me it means money. But I saw you did since I need that to tell me it's not your wife, but it's money. I need the pasuk I saw to tell me that there's no baltach on the carbon itself. That and we dashin from a makriv I say, right? We said a makriv and not the not b'shas hakrava and not b'shas achila. He's learning from machshava. Rabbi Eliezer lo yichoshev mayav. Rabbi Eliezer who learns it out from a different pasuk. Why does he do it from? Mi boy lelech Rabbi Yanai. Dom Rabbi Yanai. Minayin lemachshava shemaitzia zumizu. Shenemar lo yichoshev. Lo yarbe machshavos acheres. You shouldn't mix in other machshavos. This we had that before. You shouldn't mix in chutz l'chamach and chutz l'sman. Shemetzia zumizu. Shenemar lo yichoshev. Lo yarbe machshavos acheres. Rav Mori Masni Rav Yanai Minayin lemachashev bekotchem shulaika. How do you know that even though just machashev you get malchus? Tamalayim lo yichoshev. You get malchus for a bit machshav. Only Rav Ashi Rav Mori. Lav Shem b'Maisa. Who? How can you tell me? You get Malchus. It's a Lav Shem b'Maisa. And we learn from the Hekesh to what to Sach and Shabbat Ishar that you only get Malchus when it's a Maisa. B'chol Lav Shem b'Maisa and like in love. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda. Amalei so Rabbi Yehuda. He this Tanis Rabbi Yehuda. Amal Lav Shem b'Maisa like in love. You would get Malchus. Okay, I'm going to zoom through the Mishnah. Zeh this is the rule. We saw this before. Kol ha'shoichet v'makabel v'mahalich v'zayrik lechol davar shedaka lechol. Anyone who goes ahead who shechts or is makabel adam, a mahalech who does halacha, v'azayrik who does rika, lechol davar shedaka lechol, to eat something that what you're supposed to eat, like the basa for the meat. It's in other words, ulahakta davar shedaka lahakter. This was the tzad guys that you can't mix and match. Remember, we said yesterday that you had in the sugya of or alia. It's mezbeach, and you're thinking about what the machshav of Adam. And this was the raya that this the safe is the rabbanon, not like Rabbi Eliezer that you could mix and match. This was the zeh klal that you can't mix and match. Kizayis chutzlam kaimai pasel ve'ein by karis. Chutzlam zmanai pigel v'chayiv lakaris. So in other words, pigel is only in when you had a machshava to be makdir something that is not that the mizbeach eats, or you have machshava to eat something that is normally eaten. If you have machshava to eat the imurim, it's not going to be good. If you have machshava to burn the basar, it's not going to be good. That's Rabbi Eliezer says yes. This is the Shita who says no. Ubelvad shiakar v'mata k'mitzvasai. You got to finish the job, guys. What do you mean mata k'mitzvasai? This is a big yisoid in pickle. Ketzat kar v'mata k'mitzvasai. Shochat b'shtika. If you shechted while you b'shtika, kibul v'holek v'zorek chutz l'zmanoi, you shechted b'shtika. Kibul v'holek v'zorek chutz l'zmanoi. Right, so you shechted the korban b'shtika, meaning no problem. Kibul v'holek v'zorek chutz l'zmanoi, and then you had the machshava chutz l'zman in 2, 3, and 4. Or you had this in number 1, you had chutz l'zmanoi. The kibul v'holech v'zarek b'shtika in 2, 3, and 4, you were quiet. Or sheshacha v'kibul v'holech in 1, 2, and 3, you were quiet. V'zorek chutz l'zmanoi in the zrika chutz l'zmanoi. Su yishmakar v'matak mitzvasai. There was nothing else mixed in. It was only one machshava. Ketzad loy kar v'matak mitzvasai. Shachat chutz l'mkaimai. So you had one machshava b'shchita. Kibul v'holech v'zarek chutz l'zmanoi. Now you have 2. That's no good. So you know that we said 2 different avodas. I should shachit chutz zmanoi kiba b'halav v'zara chutz them kaimai. I should shachit v'kiba b'halav v'zara chutz them kaimai. Or Pesach v'chatzis shachit shloish shmon v'kiba b'halav v'zara chutz zmanoi. In other words, you're having two machshavos. I should shachit chutz zmanoi kiba b'halav v'zara shloish shmon. I should shachit v'kiba b'halav v'zara adam and shloish shmon. All these cases would be, since you had two different machshavos, it would passel the carbon, but it wouldn't be pigel because you had another machshava. Now, the following case is speaking where in one avoida, according to one opinion in the Gemara, one avoida you had two machshavos. So until now, the two cases before you had in the shchita and the halach, it was separate avodas. Here, you're changing gears in the same avoida. Lechol kezayis bachutz. Kezayis lemachar. So first you have a machshava to the kezayis bachutz and a kezayis lemachar, or kezayis lemachar kezayis bachutz, or kezayis bachutz kezayis lemachar, kezayis lemachar kezayis bachutz. Pasal bein makaris. Why? Because you didn't go ahead and have one full machshava, right? It's not going to one machshava for pigel. Rabbi Yehuda zeh klal kol shemachshavas hazman kodem machshavas hamakim. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda seems to be a typhus bashal rishon. Rashi says, Rabbi Yehuda akulam asnisam palik. He argues in the whole Mishnah. The less name machshavas might see a zumizu. He doesn't hold guys that he have two machshavas that. So let's go to classic case number one. Look at me. Classic case number one. I do a shchita chutz l'makayim, and then I go do a shchita chutz l'zman. Right? It's going to be pasal al chutz l'makayim. If I do a shchita chutz l'zman, and then a shchita chutz l'makom, it's going to be pickling chayiv kares, because he's always typhus lashon rishon. So he's arguing the whole Mishnah. Our Mishnah says that there's two machshavas don't passel. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda in ze'aklal kol shemachshava zman kodmum shavas hamakom pickle b'chayiv kares. The mechashav hamakom kodmum shavas zman passel bein b'kares. Chutz zman comes first. The chacham oimim zeh v'zeh passel bein b'kares. Whether zman came first or that came first, it's passel and b'kares. Because what? You can't have two machshavas and pigel. Lechol kechatzi zayis, lahakta kechatzi zayis. Now you have machshavas in two different achilas. Achila of Adam and kechatzi zayis, or it could be right. One and lahakta kechatzi zayis kasha. Shein achil baktar mitzdarfin, because achilas Adam and aktaras mizbech cannot be mitzdarfin. Everyone should have a good yontif. Shibasuras taibis. What?
You have cash.